Welcome to Unstitching ADHD Urban Ed Talks. I'm your host, Dr. Stanley Ekiyor, and with me today is somebody that I'm so excited to have in this conversation because she's someone who brings both expertise and heart to the work of supporting families. Dr. Cohen is a dedicated parent liaison who works closely with schools and families to ensure students' success. And also, that includes students with ADHD, helping them to thrive in that environment. Dr. Cohen, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Ekiyor. I'm so happy to be here and I'm honored to be a part of your platform. We've met years ago, so it's just a pleasure to have that circle around and be able to be in your presence and participate in such an informative platform. Thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. Why education? What's your story? What's the story behind you wanting to do what you do?
Right now, I serve as the parent engagement coordinator. And we have parent liaison or slash homeschool assistants is what they're called now in our building. As the parent engagement coordinator, I am responsible for programming for the whole school, anything that includes parents and preparing workshops or sessions or anything engaging families. That is what I do. I also wear other hats, but we won't get into that right now. So that's what I do overall in my professional role. I'm passionate about this. I started this back in 2001 when I was asked to leave the classroom to develop a program called Parent University. So I've been doing this since that time frame. And here it is in 2025. I found myself lucky to be able to still work in this particular field. I love parent engagement because I believe it's very important for parents to be engaged to support their children. They can do everything. In my professional opinion, it helps when that parent is involved and on board. That's why it's our job as educators in the district to provide opportunities for parents to get involved, educate them on how to get involved, and empower them to get involved. Now, that's my professional world, Dr. E, if I could call you that from way.
Thank you for that clarification
Mhm,
about the title and the
mhm,
role. Now, let's try to relate that to ADHD
mhm.
students. What does that role as a parent coordinator entail in relation to students with ADHD in the schools you support?
Okay, that's a very good question. So, as I said, I wear many other hats as well.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
so, in my role as parent engagement coordinator and my other hats that I wear in situations where kids may be getting suspended or may be receiving a consequence in school,
mhm,
suspension, or
mhm,
other type of consequence, a lot of
mhm,
times it boils down to the behavior.
mhm,
And we do have some students who may be repeaters. They get into the same situation over and over. And I really believe in my heart that some of that boils down to ADHD, hyperactivity, things that are taking place. And how that relates to me in my role is that now you have a parent that's calling, maybe upset. Okay, why is my child being suspended this time? Why is this happening? Or I may have to call the parent, let the parent know there's a consequence for their child because he or she has done this. In my conversation with the parents, sometimes I don't present it, but they'll share it with me and say, well, it could be the ADHD. So after we talked for a while, we kind of get to what it could be, the root cause of it. I find that a lot of parents, and you probably have experienced this, parents don't want to put their children on medicine. We've
mhm,
heard horror stories about
mhm,
children being on medicine and how it can have a long term effect, heart disease, high blood pressure, and things of that nature, especially if it's a stimulant. So, what I try to do with parents is give them a strategy, especially if they don't want to go that route of medicine. I have some parents who will go that route. I'll talk about both. And if it's okay now, Dr. E, I can kind of give you some of the strategies that I share with my parents.
I would have loved to hear about, the challenges you actually face first.
Mhm.
Then we'll get to your strategies.
Okay, all right. So the challenges is that it's happening over and
Mhm,
over. And the school may be giving them a consequence and hoping that if I give him a consequence, he won't do that again. Like Pavlov's theory, you do the animal or mouse or whatever, go here and get zing, he won't go that
mhm,
way anymore. So the school is thinking if we give him a consequence, he or she will begin to say, okay, let me not do this. If the student is doing things over and over, or they're not receptive to what the school is offering them to do or any type of support. They're not receptive to that. They may not be receptive to meeting with a counselor or a social worker to really talk things through. They may not even be enrolled in the school
mhm.
system, our health department, where they can access resources. So those are a number of challenges that we may face. The same behavior happening over and over, students refusing to get resources or support. The parent may not be able to connect, and we can't get the parent to really understand how their behavior is causing a problem and hindering their education.
Interesting. Let's know how you are, because it's a very complex dance.
Mhm.
Being between parents and teachers, trying to bring them together for the benefit of the child, right?
Mhm.
What strategies can you share with us that has been most effective for you to make that balance possible?
Okay. Well, I have a couple of scenarios that I can
Mhm,
share with you. One
mhm,
is we have a young lady, a student, won't say any names,
mhm,
and the parent has shared with me that the
mhm,
child has been diagnosed with ADHD,
mhm,
but the parent chooses not to put the child on medicine. Understandably so. We understand why.
mhm.
Long term
Yeah.
effects. What is this going to do to
Mhm,
my child's body? What is it going to do to his or her brain? What is this going to do
mhm,
to her nervous system? What have you? What is it going to make her do? So I
mhm,
understand that. What I've done with this parent is strategize with her and say, okay, I understand you don't want the medicine. And that is not anything that I promote with parents.
mhm,
I let them tell me what they want,
mhm.
and then we talk about the options.
Yes.
So, one of the things I said, we got to kind of understand what is ADHD. And as an
Mhm,
educator, I'm still trying to learn. Okay.
mhm,
So I know it could be difficult for a parent to pick up on what it means
mhm,
and all of the jargon. But from my little mindset, I'm thinking ADHD means synapses or what have you in the brains is kind of firing or misfiring, what have you. And it's causing kids to be hyper, causing them to not to be able to focus. And those are problems in the classroom, Dr. E. If you can't focus and if you're hyper, you're not going to pay attention in class. You're not going to engage in instruction. So now, what do? You begin to connect with the kid next to you, maybe distracting them or start doing whatever because you can't focus and you hype, you got to do something. So
mhm,
I tell parents, let's put this child in some sort of activity where they can expend some of this energy. So with this particular parent, I said, let's sign her up for sports. She signed up for sport. That was really good because it helped her self-esteem. She found something that she liked doing. She was able to connect with other kids and it gave her a purpose.
mhm,
And it also helped her to say, let me not do things in a classroom that's going to cause me to get a consequence where I can't participate in my sport. So then it becomes an incentive to put forth your effort into focusing. So that's one of the things I share. And then I talked to her about some natural things like lavender. I've
mhm,
read up on some things, and so did this particular parent that maybe some oil, essential oil, will kind of help calm the person before she comes to school. Maybe have some on her pillow where she sleeps at night or rub a little bit here so she can inhale the lavender. Because, lavender is a flower. People use part of it in bath oils, lotions, and other things that help with soothing. We talked about doing something like that and having a way to get yourself centered at the beginning of the day. Take a moment and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. This is what I'm not going to do today. I do that with my son. He has what we call profess your day. So every morning he has to profess his day. How is he going to be responsible? How is he going to be respectful? How is he going to be smart? So forth and so on. And he has to put a scripture. That's just something we do as a meditative thing for our family. So I kind of share that with her. Let's try and get her centered and just say, I'm not doing this today, but I will do this today. Those are some of the strategies that I share with this parent to kind of help curtail the hyperactivity with this student and help her to stay a little more focused and not distract others and help herself to not be distracted. Finds herself engaged in conflicts quite often. So, and unfortunately, I believe her ADHD lends itself to that type of situation. So I don't know if you have any questions about this type of parent, Dr. E, but those are some of the strategies I share with her. And I have invited the parent to learn more about ADHD. Again, I'm still learning. So I want them to, I believe it, the more they learn, the better they'll understand how this works and how it impacts their student. And even let the child know this is what's happening. So let's be aware of these things so that you can say, oh, I caught myself. Let me not do that. I know what's happening.
That's great because awareness is key.
Mm-hmm.
You can manage.
Mm-hmm.
What you don't know or you don't understand becomes a challenge. So, getting parents to know that is critical and it's important, and exposing them to opportunities to learn how to manage it
Yes.
is thank you for that. Now, how are you able to, on the other hand, are teachers receptive to trying to understand what it means that these are not kids to go against the rules,
Mm-hmm.
but these are kids that actually cannot help it by virtue of the symptoms, the characteristics of what they are dealing with. So, how are you able to get teachers to move their mindset from this kid is being fully disrespectful to this kid has challenges?
So we're working on that. And
Mhm,
and we got to put ourselves in the shoes of the teachers. They probably come across maybe 90 kids each day, and they have a classroom of maybe 20 some odd students. And so for the teacher, I want to say it is challenging for them to really zoom in on that issue. Those of us who are not in the classroom, we have to do a better job of providing learning opportunities for our teachers so they too can understand is doing this every single day. And as you said, can't help it. I have a term called they got the can't help it, helping them to understand they have the can't help it. They may come across as being deliberate and mean, and they just want to stick it to you, make you upset,
mhm,
but they really got the can't help it and is not being addressed. The teachers have so many things that they have to manage classroom. They got to manage other behaviors. They got to manage the time, make sure to get things covered. They got to manage making sure they're reaching their learning targets during that particular period. They got to manage checking on students who they feel are engaged, not engaged. So there
mhm,
is a lot that they are faced with being in a classroom. Um, you got to remember,
mhm,
some kids may not even be diagnosed, but we see some symptoms of it, right?
mhm,
You just can't tell a parent, hey, your child has ADHD. You can't do that.
mhm.
But maybe you can share with the parent, hey, these are some of the things we're seeing. You might want to connect with your child's doctor, pediatricians. I'm glad that you brought that up, Dr. E, because that is something that we need to do. With our system that we have, MTSS, multi-tier support services, we do ask teachers to try strategies in the classroom before making a referral to the team. So a kid can act up and you just say, hey, this kid has been acting up, do something to the team. You can't do that. We were asking them, okay, try some things. Maybe move him in the classroom closer to the teacher, or maybe do some little strategies like tapping on the shoulder when you're walking around teaching, tapping to get them back focused. Offer some incentives with that particular kid. I'll give you half a extra credit if you can focus, or walk them through each step of the lesson, making sure they're able to focus, because they can't focus on everything if they have ADHD. But if you take them through one piece at a time, say, let's do this piece and I'll get back and check on you, then they can probably handle that better and be able to focus. It's not as overwhelming. So, yeah,
Mhm.
we need to come up with a better way of educating ourselves, the parents, and our teachers who work directly with our
Yeah.
students every day.
Yes. And you raised an issue about some kids might not be diagnosed,
Mhm.
right? What do you discuss with parents at times? What are the myths, even with teachers and all that about ADHD that is common? What people see might be some of the reasons why they don't want to talk about.
So it's a stigma. So,
Mm-hmm.
oh, my child has ADHD. It's a stigma. So we gotta, how you say it, destigmatize it. We gotta
Mm-hmm.
destigmatize it and make it real. It's
Mm-hmm.
real. And it's not that one or two people have it. There are a lot of kids that have the symptoms and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
kids that have been diagnosed with it. So if we're able to talk about it, help folk really understand what's going on in the brain when this is happening, we can remove the stigma. Once we remove the stigma, people will be like, oh, okay, this is what's happening. Let's make sure we do something to address this, whether it be medicine, a natural approach, or some other strategy.
Let's talk about culture because most schools talk about being culturally relevant and all that. In your own experience, how do you think? Because I know your school has diverse student population. It's a big school, right? Very
Hmm.
large school.
Hmm.
So, what role do you think those cultural backgrounds, how do they affect how parents understand and respond to your support when it comes to ADHD?
Okay, so you're right. Our school is large. We're the largest school in this district, and we have over 60 or 65% minority students, with a large part being African American students. Just not having the resources or just not being aware. And so, again, I believe it's our role as the educators to make sure we educate our parents, things that could be hindering our children in focusing and engaging in instruction. I think access to the lack of access to or high quality insurance or health service a problem, a reason why parents are going on without understanding some things. I put the responsibility on us because we need the parents, right? So if I need you, I need to make sure I provide you with what you need so that you can be a part of this partnership, the parent, the school, and the child.
I love the word partnership. It
Hmm.
is truly a partnership. We're talking about awareness, getting people to know. From your experience, what you're doing right now. If you were to make suggestions about training and resources, right?
Hmm.
What kind of training do you think or resources do you think can help parents, understand what's going on and the resources they can tap into? Be your suggestion.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about what we're trying to do.
Good.
One of the things that we want to provide for our parents
Mhm.
before the end of the school year, before exams begin, but we want to help parents first understand MTSS. What is MTSS? Multi-tier support system. We want them to understand it's a referral system as well. We want them to understand that when a child is misbehaving, acting out in class, or not engaging in class, we're expecting the teacher to try different strategies. And once those things have been exhausted, we want the parents to know that at that point, the teacher will refer the child to the MTSS team. The MTSS team at that point would zoom in on what has been done in the classroom and peel off the layers to see what's causing this child to do this. Is it a parent engagement perspective? Is it a mental health perspective? Is it a physical perspective? Is
Mhm.
it a learning perspective, right? So that MTSS team will peel away the layers and try to get to the root cause and put something, a resource or something in place to address what we've discovered. Having a session like that to help the parents understand this is what's going to happen in school. Now, this is what we're doing. So now, as a parent, these are some of the things that we really need your help with. Can you have conversations with your child at home? Can you begin to engage them on a different level? Ask them, how was your day? How did they make it to the day without getting into any type of conflict, any type of trouble? How well did you focus in this class? We're doing what we need to do on our end, but having a workshop to help parents understand what we're doing and what they can do, I think would be very beneficial. Another thing besides the MTSS process, but I think there is a workshop talks about neurodiversity. Are you familiar with that? Okay.
Yes.
Help parents understand how the mind works, how the system works, so they can understand. When you know better, that's an old adage in my family. When you know better, then you can do better. So
Better.
we
Yeah.
we again, if we want to truly partner with our parents,
Mhm.
then we need to get them on the level where we are so they can be empowered and educated and helping their child. Then, so MTSS, helping them understand what neurodiversity is, and then also providing them resources. This is where you can go for this type of need. You can go to this place for this type of need. And a lot of those services are right here in the building that the kids
Yes.
can access if they get their child enrolled into the health center.
Good. That's interesting. That's really great. It makes me feel better, to know
Mhm.
that schools are taking it seriously. Now, we are almost getting to the end. You've given us so much time and you have a very tight schedule. For parents listening, for educators listening, what will be your advice when it comes to trying to support either their students or their kids?
Okay, I do have advice. I want to
Mm.
circle back around before I close out.
Yes,
So
yes.
remember earlier I mentioned there were two scenarios. One where
Mm.
the parent chose not to use medicine. Another approach
Mhm,
where a parent did. She was open to getting her child to try some medication. So I
mhm,
kind of talked her through it, what the process would look like. You will have to make an appointment with your pediatrician. She would mention it several times. Oh, she needs to be on medicine. She needs to be on medicine. And I said, okay, well, meet with your child's pediatrician. Start with that. They're going to give you a form and have the teacher fill out the form about how the child acts during this time. Is she engaging at this time? Do you see where she's avoiding work and so forth? And
mhm,
then you, as a parent, you will fill one out as well. So I kind of walked her through that process so she could understand. She took the child to the doctor's office and the process finished, and her daughter is now on medicine. And I did
mhm,
tell her sometimes that medicine might not be the right dosage at first. It takes
mhm,
time to find the
mhm,
right dosage. So you have to
mhm,
be aware of that and connect with your child's teacher. Check in with her teacher to see, okay, she started medicine. Do you see a change? Is she focusing
mhm,
on classwork more? Engage with her and walk with your child through this process and help your child
mhm,
understand why she is on this medicine and get her
mhm,
input so she can have a voice in taking
mhm,
medicine. Okay. So
mhm,
I just wanted to share that so folks can hear my scenario with the parent who did not want medicine and the parent that
mhm.
was open to trying medicine. My advice,
That's
very
good.
simple, one word: engage, engage, and
Mhm,
engage.
mhm,
Engage in your child's education like you haven't done before. At
mhm,
high school level, parents tend to pull back because the kids are a little older, they're a little bit more independent. Now
mhm,
is the time to really be in their
mhm,
business so you can know what's going on, how they're feeling, and stay connected to the child's teacher. We have a system called Power School where
mhm,
parents can see if the child's missing work. check on their attendance, little things like that. I tell parents power is something they can put on their cell phone, and I call it the new Facebook. Just how we check Facebook, when we scroll on Facebook and we look at this and we look at that and laugh, hee hee ha ha, we can also go to Power School, swipe and check and see how our children are doing. Engage and know how your child is doing academically and reach out to those teachers. If the teachers are not reaching out to you, reach out to the counselor, reach out to the administrator. Don't wait until there's a major problem. Stay on top of things. Build that relationship with your teacher. Go to the open house and say, hey, I'm a parent that's engaged. If something's going wrong with my child, please reach out to me. So that's what I would tell parents. That's my advice. Engage.
Thank you, Dr. Cohen, for sharing your insights and experiences with us today.
Yes.
Your work is making a real difference. I know it. I've been there for families and students navigating ADHD. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you found today's episode helpful, be sure to share it with someone who might benefit. Until next time, keep advocating, keep learning, keep unstitching the layers around ADHD in our schools and communities. Dr. Cohen, again, thank you very much. Really appreciate you. And we thank you for all you do for our students. And your passion is so infectious. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. E.
You too.